Hello everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to another video for Heffy Doodle. Today I'm going to show you how you can customize an interactive element on your card using a bunch of products from the newest release. I'm featuring the Chimply The Best stamp set and coordinating dies. I'm going to customize my own sentiment using two of the sentiments from the more classic sentiments. I'm also going to bring in the fancy Foliage stencil. I'm going to use the little interactive window here from the Fancy Nancy frame set, and then I'm also bringing in the Amazonian leaves to create my fun little scene today. So to get started, I'm going to color up one of the monkeys here so you can see the color combinations I used. So my darkest color for the main body of the monkey is the E49, my midtone is the E47, and then my lightest color is the E25. I'm adding shading to the tail where his legs meet his body, behind his head there, and also around his face, just to add some nice contrast between those areas. So once I get the darkest marker in, I will bring in that mid-tone and blend that out, and I'm pulling the color further into the image. And then once I have that complete, I will go ahead and add the lightest marker. Now you can see there's a little bit of streaking on the body with the E25 marker. I think I need to change my nib. So once that dries, it will push back a little bit, but it also gives him a little bit of a furry look, which doesn't hurt for a critter. So here's the color combination for the face. I'm using E35, E34, and E31, and then I'm bringing in the E04 for his cheeks. For the banana, I'm using E35, Y35, and Y13. So I'm going to use that E35 at the top of the banana and at the little bottom of each of the bananas, as well as where the lines are drawn in to the image, just to give a little bit of contrast. For the leaves, I'm using YG17 as my darkest, YG25 as my midtone, and YG01 as the lightest. Once I have all my images colored, I'm going to go ahead and use the coordinating dies to cut them out with my die cutting machine. And I love how a lot of the coordinating dies in this set cut in between the hands of the monkeys and in all the little spaces, so it gives a really fun effect for our little critters here. So just using some purple tape to make sure that those dies don't shift in my die cutting machine. Just lining those up nicely, and then I can go ahead and work on the background. So I'm going to use the fancy Foliage stencil, and I'm using two of my Distress Oxide inks. The first color that I'm laying down is a nice bright green. It's the Twisted Citron, and I'm just adding some color in different areas, more so to the middle of the card. I want there to be lots of white space in the background. And once I get that down, then I'm going to come in with the darker color, which is the Mowed Lawn. And I'm just going to, again, add that color in different areas on my card panel. I will try to blend those two colors together a little bit, but I just wanted to create a fun background that gives some interest. I'm also going to use the same inks to just add some color to this panel. This panel, I'm going to be cutting out my leaves from the Amazonian leaves dies. I wanted the leaves to match the same color as my background, and I'm just using a regular piece of cardstock here. I'm not worried about it being a smooth blend for this look. I want there to be variation in the colors when I go ahead and die cut out these leaves. So I can just go ahead and lay these down face down on my card panel. Now you could just use regular colored cardstock as well if you wanted to. That can also work just fine for a card like this. So here I'm adding my own customized interactive element. I'm using the little inside pop-out window from the Fancy Nancy frames. And you just want to make sure that that little tab is facing to the bottom. And I decided that I wanted it to be a circular feature in the middle of my card to the kind of top part of it. So I went ahead and used one of the Heffy Doodle circle dies to just cut out around that. So you'll notice I cut that out of the panel that I used my stencil on. And then I'm going to go ahead here and I just traced a circle on the inside where that pop-up window, once you pull it up, you'll see the inside. And I'm going to stamp some of my sentiment on the inside of that. So this is 2 sentiments from the More Classic Sentiments stamp set, and I want it to read "My Friend" on the inside. Once I have that stamped out, I can go ahead and I can erase those lines, and then I will go ahead and start adding all of my elements to the card. So I'm going to play around here with placement. I am going to pop up the interactive element that I created on some foam tape. So I just want to make sure that I have the placement right. So if I want any of these pieces to be tucked underneath that popped up circle, that I can go ahead and do that first. So I'm just trying to figure out where I want my little monkeys and the vines to be, and just checking that with the circular window as well to make sure, again, that my placement is exactly where I want it. I kind of play around with this little monkey trying to figure out if I wanted the vine facing downward or if I wanted it upward, and I eventually settle on it going upward. So I will change this around a little bit again here. So once I got these guys where I think I want them on the bottom of the card, I am just trying to make sure that I'm leaving enough space for my sentiment. So you saw me bring in my stamp block there with my sentiment on it to check that. And then I'm going to start adhering things down. So I am going to use liquid adhesive for all of the vines. And I actually don't pop up any of the little chimps either. I'm just going to adhere them flat, and here's where I'm going to turn that vine around. I just thought that that looked better. So you'll notice that I have some of the vines hanging off of my card panel. This just gives a nice continuity to the scene. And I can go ahead and snip off the sides that are overhanging, and you'll see that I'll actually use some of those to fill in some of the empty space on this card once I get a little bit further ahead. So I do want to make sure that none of those vines are going to peek into that area of our pop-up window that you can see when you lift the flap. And again, just trying to get these down onto the card panel where I want them. I love having this little chimp holding his other little friend upside down here. I think it's such a cute look. I made a card similar to this without the interactive element for the release, and I had those 2 little guys hanging similarly on that card as well. I just love the look of them playing together on that vine. So I went ahead and stamped my sentiment, "You are the champion," and I think I was singing the "You are the champion" song the entire time in my head when I was creating this card. Once I had that down, I could go ahead and add that window frame, and I did pop that up, like I mentioned, on some foam tape. So here's a good example of how the coordinating dies cut out around the paws of the chimps. So I went ahead and added the little trophy here in this little chimp's hand, and I'm going to have him on the front of the peekaboo window. Now, if you didn't want to customize this with the circle, you could go ahead and use it in combination with the other dies in the Fancy Nancy frame set, or you can simply just cut it out somewhere onto your card panel and have it anywhere you want on your card. But I thought creating a fun interactive little circle shape gave some different interest to this card, and it just shows you that you can stretch your supplies and get different looks for them. So now that I have my little chimps in place, I'm going to play with the bananas. So you can see there I have a whole bunch of the bananas and the leaves cut out here, and I'm just going to play with placement. When I tuck the leaves behind the circular peekaboo window here, I'm just making sure that none of those stems will go into the open area where you can see them. And for now, I'm just simply placing them where I think I want them to be. I will trim off some of the bottoms of these so they fit a little bit better under that circular frame. But basically, I'm just really trying to fill out this card and bring some added interest with those fun foliage dyes, the Amazonian leaves. I love how they all have different shapes and they're just really pretty, and I think you could even color some of these up in different colors to get a different look for a different card. So I am going to tuck some of these behind my little chimp tails, and I thought that once I had all of the foliage in place that I was done with my placement, but you're going to see here I complete the card and then I feel like it's off balance. So I'll show you how I go ahead and fix that in just a second. So I'm just going to continue to add those leaves. Again, just trimming them off to help them fit snugly underneath that circular window panel there. And sometimes I have to cut them away a little bit more than once, but I do like to just take a little bit off at a time so I don't snip off more than I want. So once I get that left-hand side done, I want to make sure that I'm balancing out the card to the right-hand side. And you can see how using these leaves fill in a lot of that white space. And I really like using the stamps and the stencil and the dies in coordination with each other. And it just gives a fun look. I love it. So I'm gonna finish up adding a couple of the leaves here to the side. I'm only gonna add 2 to the right hand side. And then I'm going to take some more of the bananas here and try to figure out where I want to add a little bit more of that yellow. So I do want to make sure that some of the yellow with the colored bananas appears throughout the card, again, just to create continuity. So I really like continuity in my cards, whether it's a scene card or just a simple, clean and simple card. I do like to have colors repeating and trying to balance things out, and that was the issue that I had with this card. I didn't quite think the chimps were balanced out properly, but I'm not really gonna see that until I finish the card. So here I'm just adding some of the images to the inside of my card. I'm going to add that big bunch of bananas and then 1 banana on the inside. And I'm also going to use some of those stars that I colored up in a red color. These come in the Chimply The Best stamp set as well. And I'm just using my jewel picker to help me place these onto that space. So it's really fun having that peekaboo window. You could put anything on the inside and it's a fun little surprise for the recipient. So I'm going to add some details here. Like I said, I thought I was done at this point. I'm bringing in my black glaze pen for their eyes as well as the white gel pen, and I'm going to add some highlights, and I'm also going to give them some little freckles on their cheeks and add a little bit of highlights to the bananas as well. And then I decided to add some glitter to the die cut leaves that I made. So here I'm just taking some of those pieces of the vines that I had cut off, and I'm going to fill in some of the white space areas with those. So continuing to kind of build up this scene. And then I decided to stamp congratulations on the inside of the card. Again, I'm going to add some of the images, the bunch of bananas, and then I'm going to add 3 of the red stars on the inside as well. And this is another example of maintaining continuity with the card, so bringing some of the elements from the outside to the inside. So here is where I decided I needed another little chimp First, I needed to take the lid off my glue before I could get him down. But I carefully pulled up that banana and then decided to have our little chimp here holding a banana to the top of the card. And I really like the way this balances out much better. It also gives an unequal number of, an odd number of chimps on the card, and they always say that odd numbers are more appealing to the eye, so maybe that's what helped in this situation as well. So here's a look at the final card. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and here's a couple more videos for you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you really soon in the next video. Bye!